So today I'm going to be doing my makeup with some Chantecaille products as well as a few others. I'm also going to be showing you my skincare, so let's get started. I'm obviously very inflamed today. I do have rosacea. I'm sure a lot of you probably suffer. I know a lot of people do, and it's a really hard thing, and a lot of people don't know what to do about it. I definitely have certain things that I enjoy using, so I'm going to use some of those today and do my skincare not only for my rosacea flare up, but also to kind of prep it for makeup. So I'm going to start with this is Etude the Sunjung pH Relief Toner. So I'm going to go ahead and use that first. And I just pour a little bit in my hands. It's very thin, like water. And I just go all over my face with that. Now this one, because it is a pH relief toner, it will actually help kind of correct the pH on my face. My face is also very reactive, so if you see it's turning red as I'm doing this, don't worry. I promise it's gonna get better, but it also just the act of me touching it will aggravate it. So I have to kind of be mindful of that. Next, my face is feeling very dry. So I'm going to go ahead and do one layer of eye prep. So I'm going to use the Prequel Half and Half. And I love this under my eyes as my kind of moisturizer. Absorbs into the skin really quickly, which is fantastic for makeup prep. But it also has ingredients to not only hydrate, but also kind of plump up the skin, which is perfect for under the eyes. I'm getting older. I'm starting to have that collagen loss under the eye and such. So definitely be mindful of that. And I try to, plan accordingly. Next, I'm going to, my face is really dry today and agitated. So I'm going to be using the Mami Wada. This is their Ultra Calming Rescue Mist. Now, anytime I have anything that's a mist, I always shake it. Just because you want to make sure those ingredients are mixed. So now I'm going to mist my face. And I'm going to let that start to dry down a little bit. And then next, I'm going to go in with the Etude. This is the Sunjung. This is their Barrier Intensive Cream. I am finding my skin loves this. So it's not like the most hydrating. So if you're someone who is not super dry skinned, this is probably enough for you. For me, I definitely need some layers. So that's what we're working on. But you just kind of twist the cap here and then the product squeezes out, which is, I think, a fantastic design. So this will be my moisturizer. And then you just kind of twist it back to lock and close. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry down a moment. And I will be right back. Okay, I've given it a couple of minutes. That's starting to dry down, so it's not moist to the touch anymore. I'm going to go ahead and go in with another round of moisture under my eyes. My under eyes are extremely dry, so for you, depending on your moisture levels, one round may be enough. I find that my eyes do better if I have two. Now, sometimes I would go over with another round of moisture, but I think today, because I'm going to use sunscreen and then the Chantecaille foundation that I'm going to use also has some moisturizing ingredients, I think I'm going to skip the second moisturizer. Did I say I was really, really dry skinned? Because I am. Okay, this is new to me. I haven't used it, so I'm going to try it for the first time. But this is the Make Prem Calamine Soothing Pink Sunscreen. Now, I am super sensitive skinned, and my skin does not like a lot of sunscreen. I have some that my skin can tolerate more than others. So I have a few that I like to use, but I definitely am always cautious when I start a new, try a new sunscreen. Oh, it's like a kind of a like milky but kind of thick Let's see. I'm curious if my skin has a reaction to it. It says it's supposed to be soothing, but rosacea is kind of wonky because it's like no, everybody's rosacea is different and everybody has different triggers. Mine, I'm sure I do not know all of my triggers, but mine is definitely an environmental. It does not like the sun. It doesn't like temperature changes. It doesn't like chemicals. It doesn't like dust. It doesn't like pollen. It doesn't like all kinds of things. So, because of that, it feels like a lot of things kind of trigger it. So, I'm always kind of trying to make sure that I have, you know, sun protection. And then I also try to always make sure I have like a barrier on my skin. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I almost always wear some kind of makeup when I go out, because I find that it helps prevent significant flare-ups. It like adds a layer of protection. Okay. So I put that on my face. It definitely doesn't seem like it's aggravating my skin. It definitely has kind of a pink hue though. So it's like, I feel like it's intensifying some of my redness a bit. I feel like it would be really great for people who didn't have rosacea though. It might give them a really gorgeous glow. But honestly, this might be something that kind of works with my makeup. So we're gonna try it out and see. I am going to be using, I know I just put on that sunscreen. The Chantecaille foundation doesn't have like a ton of coverage because I have tried that one before. So because of that, I am going to also be using a bit of color corrector. So I'm going to use my tried and true. I love this. This is my fail-safe, but this is my Herborian CC Red Correct. It does have an SPF of 25, which normally I try to have more SPF than that, so I don't really consider it my sunscreen. It's fine for if I'm not really doing much that day, or if I'm not, gonna really be in the sun, or I'm just at the house or something, but I do tend to put sunscreen on underneath it because I also really just use it in the areas that I have the most redness because I find that that's the most effective for my neutralization. Now I'm going to go ahead and start moisturizing my lips. I'm going to use the Iota. This is their pistachio milk latte. This is gorgeous. I love this stuff. They have actual pistachio butter in it, so it smells amazing. And it's so just lusciously moisturizing. I am addicted to this one. Now, I have super dry lips too. Go figure. So, because of all of my dryness, when it comes to stuff that really moisturizes, I am like, that is my like favorite thing in the whole wide world. Give me that moisturizing lip product. Give me that moisturizing everything because it just makes my skin and my lips and everything else feel so much better. So, this Iota, it has obviously the pistachio butter, but interestingly enough, it also has ingredients for like peptides. It has vegan stem cells, hyaluronic acid, pre and postbiotics, elasticity support, collagen support, microbiome health. Like it has so many ingredients in here that are so like, this is really more than a lip balm. This is definitely like a lip treatment. So if you're looking for like a heavy hitter lip product that's, actually pretty good and not like chemically, this is a good one. So I'm going to go ahead and go in with my CC Red Correct. And we're just going to cover the cheeks a bit. And probably, I usually do under my nose and at my temples, because those are the areas I tend to have the most redness. But you can see that, look at how much that already just brought it down. Now, you know what I would love is if they made like a real sunscreen that had like SPF 50, but had the green neutralizer. Oh man, that would be, especially like this. So this Herborian, it goes on green. but I'll try and show you up close. It kind of turns into kind of a flesh color. So it's probably the most obvious, like around my eyes here, because I didn't put any around my eyes. I don't know how much you can tell, but it kind of turns into this kind of flesh color. So it's not going to stay green on your face, but see how it just kind of neutralized everything? Like it doesn't look like I have, foundation on or anything, but it definitely just created a neutralization. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start on my eyes a little bit while I wait for that to dry down. Now I got two eyeshadows from them. I have the crane eyeshadow and I have the elephant. These are so gorgeous. Honestly, like I'm just so like they do such beautiful packaging. Look at that. It even has a mirror even though it's a single shadow. But look at that. Isn't that just gorgeous? I haven't used much yet. This is going to be my first time using everything but the foundation. And so I'm really excited. And that's the elephant. So beautiful. Okay. So I think I want to do something kind of basic, nothing too crazy. I just want to kind of let these colors shine. I'm going to just kind of neutralize my lid. I'm going to go in with this NYX. This is the Innuendo Matte Eye Pigment. And this one is a great shade for my skin tone. And they have a lot of great like neutral shades. And you just take the tiniest bit. Like that is enough for my eyelid. Just so you know. And I like to just go in with my finger. Obviously you could use a brush or a sponge or whatever floats your boat. But I find that for me, my finger seems to be the best. Because you have to work pretty quickly with this product. Because it does dry down pretty quickly. But the heat of the hand and then the ability to just quickly smooth and blend just makes it so much easier. So as you can see, like look at how much that just neutralized my lid. And it's really, really close to my skin tone. So it works fantastic. Okay, I've got my eyelids neutralized. This is just slightly tacky. So I think it's dried down enough that I can go ahead and start working on my foundation. So I'm going to go ahead and take out my Chantecaille foundation. I'm using the shade Alabaster. I've only used this once before. I think I'm going to go ahead and try my BK Beauty brush today. So I'm just going to kind of get some of that product on the brush. And I'm just going to go in and start blending. Now, I do like the Chantecaille foundation. Like I said, I've only worn it once before. And I did enjoy it, but it does not have a ton of coverage. So just go and, be prepared for that. It doesn't mean that, you can't use it or that it's just, you can't make it work. Because I feel like even though I have a lot of redness and such, I find that I may have to use some color correctors like I did, or I may have to use, a little more concealer or something, but I can usually get a look that I like with any level of coverage. I would say probably, ironically, the one that I'm most fearful of is when I see full coverage. Because I have dry skin and oftentimes full coverage foundations are just not kind to dry skin. They tend to be very unforgiving. So you can see I still have little patches of redness. So I will probably try to go in with a little bit of the Chantecaille concealer in those areas. But it definitely, I love the kind of luminosity and the freshness of this foundation. It's really, really nice as far as like your skin but better. Like it definitely, and I know you're probably thinking, I've watched you put so many things on your face. I did a lot of skincare. A lot of it wasn't makeup. We've barely started the makeup journey. Now, the Chantecaille, I will tell you, I don't feel like it really builds up much. So like I could go back in on these spots with some more, but it's not really one of those like super buildable foundations. Like I'm going to get a little bit more coverage, but it's not going to be like super dramatic. I'm going to actually go ahead and put on a little bit of blush. So I don't have a Chantecaille blush, but I do have one of my favorite blushes that is I would say a comparable brand. And that is the Victoria Beckham. This is her like flush, what does she call it? Color wash. And this is in the shade Vintage Rose, which is perfect for like my cool tone skin. I love this stuff. So beautiful. And a little bit goes a long way, and it looks so natural on the skin. Like if I was someone who didn't need almost any coverage, like if I was one of these girls, women who like could walk out the door with a bit of blush and whatever, 100% I would just wear this. But I am not that person because I have so much rosacea and discoloration. But this just looks so natural, and I just like to take it up under the eye, and it looks so pretty. Now, I know you're thinking you haven't done your concealer yet. That is because I kind of like this where the blush peeks through the concealer. I think it looks really beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go in. This is new to me as well. It's not a Chantecaille product, but this is the Natasha Denona liquid bronzer. I have not tried this before, but as someone who tends to be more cool toned, bronzers are not always my friend because sometimes I end up looking orange. And I'm also fair, so that just makes it that much more dramatic. So I'm going to go ahead and try just a little bit of this. And I have the shade Bamboo. So I'm just going to put a little bit on my hand here. I've had this in my cart for like eons. And I just kind of kept being like, but I finally pulled the trigger, especially during the Ulta Diamond Appreciation. I got some fantastic points. Softly blend that out. Oh, that looks really nice. Now that looks like a more natural bronze for me. Yeah, I'm impressed with that. That looks nice. Some different color to my face, because once I neutralize all of that rosacea, I just look super pale. So I like to just kind of frame my face a little bit. And that's actually a really nice color to play with, because it doesn't look forced or unnatural. That is gorgeous. I'm now wishing I would have bought that sooner. I'm going to continue testing it. I know it's my first time using it, but I wish I would have bought that sooner. That looks beautiful. Dang. Oh well, now we know. Yeah, that's one of the best looking bronzers I've seen in a long time. I'm going to go ahead and just use a bit of contour on my under chin area, my double chin situation. And this is the Dior stick contour. And one thing I will always tell you, and if you've watched one of my other videos, you've probably already heard this, but I definitely recommend having separate brushes for your contour and for your bronzer, because you don't want that like dark contour where your bronzer is supposed to be. Like you just don't want those if you're not washing your brushes every day, which I'm assuming you aren't, because I know I don't. I just recommend kind of keeping them separate. Now I'm going to go ahead and try the Chantecaille concealer. So I don't know how much coverage this has, so we're going to find out. based on the foundation, I am not anticipating much coverage. So let's see. I got the shade Petal. Now they did have Alabaster, which would have matched the foundation, but Petal has a little more pink in it, which helps to neutralize kind of those dark blue under eye circles. So I went ahead and got Petal. So let's see. I'm going to just start with a tiny bit. We'll blend it and see what we think. Now this does have a fragrance. I didn't really think about it whenever I was wearing the foundation, but this definitely has a fragrance. I'm guessing the foundation does too. I just probably didn't notice it. So I'm going to use this A506 brush and just kind of gently blend that in there, tap it in. So it definitely is very light coverage for the under eye, I would say. And I don't want to use just a ton of product. So I think what I'm going to do, which I tend to use a brightener most of the time, and I actually prefer the brighteners over the concealer. And by over, I don't mean instead of, I mean like over top. Because I find that the brighteners kind of help soften. And that way it doesn't look so harsh, right? So it doesn't look like I have white under eyes and then I have my blush. Like it just helps to kind of merge the area. I know like Patrick Ta's getting really popular with the transition blush, and then of course the woman who kind of, you know, talked about it more recently, but it's something that people have been doing for ages. In fact, I think Kevin Aquan might have been one of the earlier ones who did that. Okay, so I have a little bit of, that was the Cali Ray under eye brightener, and I'm just gonna kind of go blend that out a little bit. And whenever I do my concealer, I make sure I don't go right up under my eye. So I'm not trying to go up to the lash line, because once you get like too close like that, especially if you have much product, you're emphasizing wrinkles. Like, if I'm sorry, but unless you're like 12 years old and you just have no wrinkles, no texture, nothing, like you're emphasizing wrinkles. So I just don't go up under the lash line, and that really helps. Because to be honest, most of us are going to put some kind of shadow, eyeliner, something under the lash line anyways, so you don't really need your concealer that high. I think that looks relatively neutralized. So I'm going to kind of let that set down for a second. And let's see. Do I want to add? I think I'm not going to bother with some concealer. I also have some powder I'm going to use. So I'm just going to kind of let this be, and we'll see how much coverage I get from where I'm at. So I've given my concealer a moment to kind of settle, and I've kind of squinched and wrinkled up. And I don't know if you can see, but I just barely have the tiniest bit trying to kind of settle into some of those lines. So I'm just going to go in and basically smooth again, which is going to help kind of pull that excess concealer out. And now I'm ready to set my under eyes. Yes, I set my under eyes separately from the rest of my face. So I'm going to use the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Liquid Blurring Balm. And I'm going to spray, this is a different brush. I have two of these. I have one that I use just for setting my eyes. So I'm going to spray a little on there. And then I'm just going to gently tap. Now, one thing I will tell you, which is a mistake that I made early on, is don't stretch out that under eye whenever you're tapping the setting powder on it, because what will happen is you will actually stretch out those wrinkles under your eye, and then you will set them in place. And so it will actually emphasize the wrinkles. So just kind of a relaxed under eye, and we're just tapping. So we've got that setting spray on there. We're going to let that start drying down, and we're going to go ahead and move on. This is the Perfect Blur finishing powder, and I have the shade Light Medium. I have never used this product before, clearly, but I'm just going to take a big fluffy powder brush and just gently, and I like to set my cheeks. I know not everybody does, but I tend to have a lot of the redness. So I find that setting my cheeks, I don't necessarily worry about going all the way out to the edges, but I do try to set my cheeks. And I will do my forehead, is mainly because I like to smooth out some of those wrinkles a little bit, diffuse the light, if you will. So as you can see, it's kind of starting to blur a little bit. And I'm going to probably go in with just a little bit more powder in this area. But overall, I think that's a nice powder. It doesn't look heavy on the skin. It doesn't make it look overly powdered, which is nice. I'm going to go ahead and start on my eyes. Okay, so I went ahead and tried this on my hand just to see what the coverage level of it was going to be, and it's pretty sheer. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and go in and just lightly dust it all over the eye, because I don't think that it's going to be that dramatic. Yeah, it looks pretty sheer and lovely, actually. This is the Elephant shade. Oh, I like that. Okay, so I think I'm going to go in with that Crane, and I'm just going to kind of start blending over top a little bit. Now, obviously, I have hooded eyes and I have mature eyes, so I have all of the things. Okay, so it's looking a little heavy and dramatic in that area, so I'm going to take a little bit of powder on the same brush, and I'm just going to kind of blend and smooth that out. It's also it's stuck to a couple areas where I still had some moisture from my skincare, so it just kind of got a little more dramatic than I was prepared for. So we're just gonna kind of blend that out, soften it. I'm curious, I think next time I'm gonna try this Crane shade on its own, because I'm curious what it would look like by itself. Same thing. I think I'm going to go in and soften it up a little bit. Now I am kind of rubbing off the excess of my brush before I go into my powder. It's looking quite nice. So I'm going to go ahead and get out this is the Chantecaille Luster Glide eyeliner, and what shade did I get? I got Violet Damask. Brand new eyeliner. And I am so picky about eyeliner. Here's hoping. Oh, that glides nicely. Okay. I was gonna say, so often I have eyeliners that just want to tug and not glide. And I don't know if y'all can sympathize with that, but man, you get a little bit older and suddenly it's like, nope. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a brush that I have to just kind of smudge out a little bit. Now, when I do my eyeliner, I'm sure if you've seen my other videos, you already know, but I don't like to go all the way to the inside. I just kind of start a little bit before the halfway point of my eye. I find that it helps open my eye up a little bit. But you know what? I find that with makeup, I don't worry about perfection. I just want it to look like something I like. And I always recommend that to everybody. Just have fun with it. It's not that serious. You can always wash your face. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of the eyeliner underneath. I'm going to try it out. I don't like a dark eyeliner too much on my under eyes. I feel like it ages me. So I try to go in very soft, which depending on the eyeliner, sometimes is easier than other times. That one's pretty easy to work with. That one's got a nice glide. I will also say that as I've gotten older, I feel like smudging and blending has become my best friend. Like 100% it helps so much. Okay, so I know that looks a tad dramatic, but that's okay. Because I'm actually going to take a bit of this Crane shade and I'm going to dip the same brush that I used for my eyeliner in, and I'm going to go over and brighten it up a little bit because it has that kind of shimmer in it, which as I've gotten older, you know what I love? I love a little bit of shimmer shadow on top of my lower liner. I feel like it just opens up my eyes and gives this like youthfulness. I love it. I think it looks amazing. Maybe you disagree. Let me know. That is looking good. I know you think it probably looks a little dramatic, but let's finish up first before we make decisions. I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of powder blush. This is the Hourglass blush in Mood Exposure. I'm going to take my nice little light, fluffy blush brush and we're just going to lightly add just a touch of powder blush over top. That's one thing I love about using that liquid blush underneath is I don't have to go very heavy-handed at all with the powder blush. I can just kind of gently add just a little bit of like a natural kind of flush look. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set my makeup. So I'm going to use the Laura Mercier. This is the Translucent Hydrating Ultra Blur Setting Spray. I've been using this one lately and I'm really enjoying it. So it has a really, really fine mist. Now notice I am applying this before I do my mascara. Now, to be fair, I am not calling this setting spray out as something you can't do with mascara on because I've never actually tried it. I just find that in general, I do better with my mascara longevity if I do my setting spray and let it dry down before I put on my mascara. So now I'm going to use my NYX Bladen shade and just kind of do a light fill on my brows, nothing crazy. Just a little bit of enhancement here. And I really like this one. It is pretty natural looking, easy to work with. It's inexpensive. It performs well. I have no complaints. They also have it in like a billion shades. Okay, so now I'm just going to go over that with my tried and true Rare Beauty Brow Gel, just to kind of keep my brows in place, make sure they behave. I'm always impressed when I hear about these people that spend like enormous amounts of time on their brows. I do not. I'm going to go ahead and curl my lashes. And then I'm going to use my Dior Lash Primer, which is almost out. Okay, and then today I'm going to brave because I'm going to be outside, so we'll see. But this is new to me. This is a Lancome Lay 8 Hypnose Serum Infused Volumizing Mascara. I've never used this product, so let's just hope I'm not going to regret it. Is it like a soft brown? It's an interesting handle too. Well, it definitely doesn't clump, but I'm also like, I feel like I'm kind of having to work it quite a bit to get product on the lashes. Granted, this is my first time using this one, so sometimes with a new product or a new style of product, there's like a learning curve. So I like to try things at least a few times to see if I can figure out a way to make them work. I will say that's interesting because usually the problem I have with mascaras, especially when they're new, is that they want to kind of glob on, and you have to be like so careful to not just end up with giant globs of mascara. This one does not do that. Okay. That definitely looks really nice. I'll have to see how it wears and also if it's gives me trouble coming off because I normally only wear tubing mascara and I don't actually know if that's a tubing mascara or not. My lips feel very nourished. I love that lip balm. So I'm going to go ahead and try. This is the Chantecaille lip veil and this is in the shade Iris. This was part of their elephant collection. So I'm not quite sure if this is actually going to be more of a balm or a lipstick. I don't remember. But my lips are very hydrated, so it should be okay either way. Oh, it feels nice on the lips. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, it does. It feels really nice on the lips too. And it looks really nice. Yeah, I'm kind of digging this look. So it's, obviously the eyes are a little bit more dramatic, but I feel like it's all pretty balanced and it looks really good. So tell me, what do y'all think? I'm going to have to do a little bit of something on my chest, but that's fine. I'll do that in a minute. All right. So that was Chantecaille, full face of Chantecaille. I think it looks great. Tell me, what do you guys think? Have you tried any of these products? Are you interested in any of these products? Let me know. Just a quick follow up. It's been several hours. My lip has worn off, but honestly, I feel like the makeup looks pretty good still. So I just figured I would check in. I'm about to go be outside for several hours. So I don't know what it'll look like after all of that. But yeah, I just figured I would do this. It's been about 4 to 5 hours. So yeah, I think it still looks gorgeous.